Hopefully we have audio. If anyone can hear us.
Audio, yo, yo.
Audio. And we should be having some pretty pictures here in a minute. Look at that. Look
You must have put mine up first.
If you say so. If you say so.
You wanted pretty, didn't you? I mean, it's what you were saying.
There we go.
Friends.
All right, audio's working. Awesome. Hello, everybody. How are
Hello,
y'all?
friends and brothers. I'm glad to see all of our true and trusted friends with the inner circle here with us.
Mm-hmm. And company.
And company.
And company.
Oh my gosh.
Looks like he's having a rough day.
Oh my gosh. See what you did, Jason? Stop it.
Was I barking up the wrong tree?
It's just too early for you to be gnawing on that bone.
Too early?
That's funny.
I apologize to everybody if I just cough in your ears tonight. I'm sorry. What kind of dog is that?
Beagle?
Is it a beagle?
Tiny little basset hound.
Oh,
it's a baby basset hound.
Basset hounds. Those are cool dogs. I like those. Cool. So what do you want to talk about tonight, guys?
How about the Masonic Oath?
Masonic Oak?
Yes, the Masonic Oath observance. That was an awesome experience today. All kinds of good friends and brothers and their wives and good barbecue. And it was a good time. It was a good time. I hadn't been to an event with diverse members like that in quite a while that I really felt at ease, comfortable, happy. Everybody was having a pleasant time, and there wasn't a bunch of tension in it.
Nice.
It's the first time in a long time.
That's good.
And I'm so happy we have the Grandmaster we have, because it wouldn't be possible if we didn't. Sorry, just saying.
No, it's fair. It's all good. Well, you don't normally go to things like that, so it's good to see you branching out.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's been a while. I've been busy running around doing other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while. In fact, I'm having a hard time because I was invited back up to Arkansas to be the speaker for the Feast of Tishri for their feast in September.
You're
having a hard time deciding if I can make that happen or not.
You're in high demand. What's up, Adam? My friend, how's it going?
Doing good.
What's
How
happening?
about you?
Pretty good.
You know what, Adam? I hate to break it to you over the internet, which actually over the line, but I'm probably going to have to donate my ticket to the dinner, to the festive board, to somebody. And I feel bad.
How dare you? No,
I know, right? Okay. I went and bought it, and I have to give it back to somebody else. Well, I bought it, and that's the same night as our 100th anniversary at the Scottish Rite. And
I understand.
Just go to the next 100-year anniversary. Jeez.
Yeah, right? No, I understand. And our festive board is a bit late this year. Normally we'd like to do it towards the beginning of June, so that it wasn't so close to installations for lodges and whatnot. So I understand. I appreciate it.
Well, usually our reunion is in May, and so it wouldn't have even been we everything and it just ended up happening. So
Gotcha. No problem.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm behind.
Mark's gonna have to do the same thing because he's chairman of the board for the San Antonio Valley. He's got to be there. So oops. We may have to show up late and come and visit you guys late and share drinks afterwards.
Yeah, I still need to get my ticket. So at least you got yours. I'm being a dirtbag. Haven't got my ticket yet.
Yeah, I'm not donating mine to you. I will.
I don't want you to.
Somebody else. Yeah, just take Dennis.
No. I want to support your endeavors.
I heard Dennis takes Venmo if you double it.
Yes. Absolutely. So what do y'all want to talk about really besides, me talking about the Masonic Code?
Let's we talked about endowments and everything recently. That's kind of on my mind now, but we already talked about that pretty recently. There's an issue at one of my local lodges where there's a brother, and he is driving everybody crazy talking about the lineup next year, because really he wants to be the Marshal Master, right? And he's the junior warden right now, and so we talk a lot on the show about how important it is to have like a plan, right? To kind of have an idea what the year looks like. I think it might be good to really point out, man, there's a big difference between sitting down and having a meeting and making a plan to actually just harassing people constantly. I mean, borderline politicking, trying to get a Masonic office. It's important that your lodge has long-term goals, and that your lineup is aligned with those goals. And so I think there's definite value in sitting down and seeing like, hey, this is what we have right now. Do we like what this is? I mean, are y'all willing to sit here again, or do we want to look at our options? But as one guy going up constantly to everybody saying, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? I mean, it pesters people. So there's a fine line between planning and just harass. Oh my gosh. And harassing people. Wow, look at that light on your face. What do you have? What is that?
It's my face light.
Nice. Yeah, I got
it's
one.
Like you just opened the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah,
I know, right? Wasn't it cool? All right, I just decided I was looking a little.
Just playing with his toys.
Gotta play with something, right? Well, I would like to say, in one of my lodges, I kicked off the conversation, right? And this was about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And I said, okay, guys, we need to get together and decide what we're going to do, because the senior warden is obviously not going to be available to be master next year. The junior warden isn't really comfortable moving to that position. He doesn't want to. And we've got the next people below him are young in the line, and so they really kind of need to go through as well. And so, but I wasn't trying to fish or anything, and so one of the brothers said that it'd be good if I was able to sit in, and so I immediately, when that happened. And I'm happy to serve anywhere. I can serve anywhere in the lodge effectively, efficiently, and really know that the lodge will be better when I leave it than the way I found it. I know that. Mm-hmm. However, I wasn't fishing for that. So I immediately took myself out of the conversation. I said, okay, guys, that wasn't, why I brought this up. We need to have a plan because we do have these issues in our lodge. So, and then they said that, and so I had to make it very clear that I wasn't going to be any part of the conversation, and that they would need to figure it out, and I'd support whatever. I could go into any chair, and I'll be happy to support whoever from the sideline. That's my job as a past master. I do that. I'm not a past master of that lodge, but I am a past master, so I've got that experience. I can help. So that's kind of how I feel about that. I know people get anxious when they're sitting in the line, especially if there's some kind of incompetence going on. But at the same time, we have to be humble enough to understand that ultimately the will of the lodge is going to prevail no matter what. So if we just let it play out, I mean, of course you want to say, I will do it if you need me to. But beyond that, that's it. Say it one time. if a couple people hear it, then it's known
Hmm.
and it's going to get around.
If it's a good idea, it'll get around. Yeah.
That's the way. Yeah, that's the way Masonry works, right? I've never heard a bad idea not get spread around like wildfire in Masonry. I mean,
That's true too.
the biggest secrets are the ones everybody knows, right?
I think.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I agree. What about you guys?
I haven't been around that long, but I know for me, I think this maybe goes to succession planning, right? The bigger picture here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a plan in place? Are the players in place? Do we have an idea of what's going on? Is the vision shared and cast broad enough? Is it about me as an individual, or is it about the best and the goodness of the lodge, right?
Yes.
And that's what we have to think about: is for the good of Masonry, are we doing what we need to do there? And is it putting people in the right place for that to happen? That's all I would say. But again, this is I'm new to this. This is actually my first year to sit in lodge when an election happens too. So,
No.
Well, and that was the exact point that I was making when I brought it up, was that we needed to have a plan of action, because there hasn't been any succession planning. So that was what I was trying to convey when I brought it up, and then it happened the way it did. So I agree wholeheartedly. We need to, as a lodge, talk about these things ahead of time, and then right after, also right before elections, and then right after elections. And see where we are and where we need to go.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. First of all, I think the progressive line serves a purpose, but I think when you mindlessly
Did
just
you see that?
What?
Somebody raised their hand.
Did someone have their hand up? No,
Go
I'm sorry,
ahead.
I was typing. Go ahead. No.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say when we I was looking at, but when we mindlessly just allow the progressive line just to progress without any consideration of people's actual leadership capabilities, or because we're afraid of disrupting peace and harmony, that's when you end up with lodges with issues. You have to be intentional, and like you pointed out, it's succession planning. It's not politicking or anything like that. It's succession planning, because you could have 10 years of success in your lodge, and you've put the wrong guy in that east for 1 year. It's all done. It's all undone, right? You have to be intentional about setting up your lodge for success. But I don't want to. But sorry, didn't mean to cut off whoever had their hand up.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying. I can only speak about what I know about the two lodges I belong to, St. Ross and St. Albans, and they both have an annual meeting of the past masters of their individual lodges, and the past masters will just make sure that someone is qualified to be nominated for each one of the chairs, right? So if someone else wanted to nominate someone for junior warden or senior warden or worshipful master, that could be done. There's nothing stopping them. But no matter what, the past masters will make sure that someone gets nominated for each of those positions. I think that's a good thing for any lodge to do. Just like have a meeting that it's just the past masters, and they're like, who could help guide our lodge in the future. And then another thing is that I think too many lodges, or probably most lodges, have the automatic expectation that the worshipful master will only serve 1 year. Mm-hmm. And if the master only wants to serve 1 year, that's perfectly fine. And if a master is going to serve 2 years, he should probably talk to his senior warden about that to make sure that's okay with him. But I think we should, for lack of a better phrase, normalize that more, where a worshipful master could serve 2 or 3 years. Because think about how many organizations that have their CEO or the head of the organization that just serves 1 year. Like, I can't think of any besides Freemasonry, so that's something to consider.
Well, sometimes 1 year is too long, right? Well,
that's true. Yeah, it's rolling the dice, but it's an election, right?
But if the lodge is intentional and they have a succession plan and they've watched people and developed their leaders, it shouldn't be a surprise how well they do or how badly they do, right? So you want to be sure that the lodge is picking the best leaders for the job. I had another point, and I totally just brain farted out what it was, so I'll just stop there.
I like the idea of the past masters meeting. I've always thought of the past masters meeting being for planning with the current officers, not just the past masters by themselves. But, I can see the value in them doing it by themselves. But I also think that if they're wanting, well, I guess that's kind of how it would happen, is they would just nominate somebody from the floor if you already had people that were in position to move up or whatever. And we need to honor that tradition in democracy as well. Contested elections, there should be nothing that makes it normal for non-contested elections if you have people that aren't doing their job up to the point to where they are.
Yep. What you got?
Go ahead, Jason.
The other thing one of the things I have seen, because I agree there should be succession planning, and hopefully your past masters are still around. Sometimes the past masters that tend to hang around are the ones that keep causing issues. So.
Right. That's the only reluctance there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about that. Like, I don't know. I know kind of a group of past masters. I'd rather not have them anyway. Whatever. But the one thing I have seen that it really does kind of bother me is if you see a guy that is coming up through the line, and for whatever reason he's not really working out. He doesn't seem to, be taking it seriously, or maybe he's just completely incompetent. But one of the things I've seen is that you waiting until election night, and then somebody else gets nominated.
Oh yeah, doing it on the fly. Yeah.
Fully expecting that he's going to be moving up, and all of a sudden somebody else gets nominated, he doesn't get nominated, and he's out. That to me, we should be, a society of friends and brothers, and so do not let that happen. I've seen it a couple times. One time I really tried to warn the people that were planning on doing it ahead of time, like, don't do it. You shouldn't do it. You're going to, I understand this person needs to be out of the line, but you talk to them first. Say, hey, things are not working out. We're going to go ahead and go with a different direction. But do not wait until election night to basically throw somebody out of the line.
That's tough.
Yeah, I saw that firsthand early on in my Masonic career. I instigated it. I nominated somebody else, and the guy almost tried to fight me in the lodge after. So, you definitely. It should not be. The election night should not be the first time that he has heard that there are concerns about the way he has been doing things, right? Like he should have been pulled aside early on, say, look, this is what you're doing. This is not how we do things. You need to correct that. And if that, there should have been multiple conversations with this guy. So when that happens, election night, it should not be a surprise. What's up, Bob?
Go ahead, Adam.
So what I wanted to ask is, do y'all believe in the progressive line, or even a shortened version of it, outside of the principal three? Do y'all strongly believe in that?
I think that every year you're earning your spot for the next year. And if you do that, if your lodge is set up to pay attention and not just let people do whatever, if you're intentional with each position and what their duties are for the year, then it's easy to do that. It's easy to determine, okay, he's done his job, he deserves to move forward, or he's done above and beyond, right? He deserves to move forward. But if your lodge really doesn't have anything in place, it's kind of hard to do. It really is. So it really just depends. I believe in secession.
How does it work at Goliad?
it basically, if tradition prevails, you move up. But it doesn't always work that way. I've seen a guy that didn't get it, and the bad thing is that he was told throughout the year, look, man, you got to show up, you got to stop flaking on this, and he didn't listen, and he ended up not being elected, and he stopped going to lodge. He left the lodge. But it would have been better than having a bad year, because since that time we have really built into a pretty dang solid lodge, and it was because we decided we were going to start being more intentional with that lodge.
What's up, Jason? You're muted.
Talking to yourself.
There we go. Okay, I was talking to Pickles.
You're talking to the pup.
So I do believe in the concept of the progressive line, but not so much so that I would not be willing to remove somebody. At Victory Lodge, we do have a tradition where we have not had we've not had a repeat master in the entire history of the lodge. And it's not so much that we are so beholden that we'll just throw anybody into the line. But so if I'm looking at my officer line coming in, if I go from senior warden all the way down to all the way down to the stewards. So basically that includes master ceremonies, Tyler, the entire line. These are all guys that have basically been moving up. And we make it clear that this is, you are looking ahead to your next line, that we expect you to. Now we're going to have to kind of bring back this tradition, but traditionally we expected you also to do your part in the degrees as well. So if you moved up, to another position, not only did you have to know opening and closing, you needed to also be able to do your part in the degree. We have to make some adjustments, obviously.
That dog is enormous.
What's that?
Yeah.
Like it's about to bite you.
All we saw was the mouth, it looked like this big. Well, it was much bigger than that. It was. Anyways, go ahead.
Mom's gone this week, so she's being
needy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we've kind of moved away a little bit from that. I'm going to try and kind of right that ship and kind of try and bring that back. But I had two guys that were in the progressive line that realized that they just were not going to be able to fulfill the responsibilities of the next role, and involuntarily took themselves out of the line. And so then I moved up, the next guy, and then started looking at the bottom of the line and bringing in guys that were on the fence, just waiting to be an officer and just, waiting to be asked and stuff like that. Now, which is great for Victory Lodge, right? However, understand, I'm also a member of Guadalupe Lodge, and there we have a little bit more challenging. We don't have quite that deep of, officers going back. So, it's one of those things where we have to kind of really look at, the needs of the lodge. And yeah, we've got, a couple of past masters that are, have been willing to kind of fill in those roles. And, and ultimately, if nobody is able to step up, then eventually they probably will be moving up into those lines. So I do like the idea, because I think one builds on another, but ultimately, if you've got to substitute a guy, it's whatever is best for the line. And then I see Justin's hand is up.
I'm just trying to get the thing to work.
You got to do it with this hand.
Just sure. Nah, it doesn't work. Okay.
Anyway, yeah. I don't. Maybe it's because
it doesn't.
I don't know.
Maybe you're just not filled with badassery like I am.
Yeah.
Dennis has his hand raised.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. It's my turn.
I have to hand it to you, Dennis.
I wanted to say something just real quick, and I'll give it back to Justin. I did want to say, Adam, I could see with both of those lodges you belong to that y'all have very specific culture, and it's very protected as well. And I could see where having the past masters meeting to do that, to make sure that culture is protected, is a good idea. So, and of course they would be the ones putting somebody up if somebody was going to be contested. So, I mean, that would be pretty much trusted, and I'm sure that most of y'all would know about that if that was going to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think St. Albans is an extremely unique lodge in Texas.
Yes.
Like, there's other lodges
Yes.
like it, but it's very unique. St. Albans wouldn't say it's TO, like it predates TO, but it's basically TO, right?
Right.
Sol Ross.
Best in practice.
Yes, best in practice, or observant, however you want to say
Yes.
it.
Yes.
But Sol Ross, I think, is really unique in the sense that I don't know, all of our past masters, there's no one in our lodge that's active in our lodge that I think like I really like wish this person was not a member of our lodge, or I really disagree with him,
Right.
or I wish he wouldn't come to the past masters meeting because he's going to screw everything up. There's none of them that I think like that, and I've been to a lot of other lodges where there's these personalities that they do not mesh with each other, and to the point that like they do not like each other, right? But they belong to the same lodge. So we are fortunate in that regard. Something I like about not really having a progressive line is that you can basically tell everyone you are entitled to nothing. Even if you're the junior warden, you're not entitled to become senior warden. And you make that extremely clear when they're elected or when they're appointed to that office. And it's like, you're not entitled to move forward. What matters is what happens when, if you show up to the meetings, or if you do certain things. If you're appointed as senior deacon and then you show up to one stated meeting and you don't go to anything else, well, you're not entitled to be junior warden, and you shouldn't be surprised when you're not elected as junior warden, right? But I agree with you that St. Albans and Sol Ross are pretty unique, and we're in like a lot better situations than most other lodges. So I understand that.
You're outliers in the good way. I want to talk real quick about the progressive line, but also these past master meetings. I'll say many lodges, not all lodges, this progressive line has been going automatically for so long that if you were to call a past master meeting, it'd be the same guys that show up for your stated meeting anyway. Most of the non-past masters are far outweighed by the actual past masters. Let me finish my thought, Dennis. I'll also say, as far as the progressive line goes, it's not like a yes, clear cut yes, like for everything, or a no kind of question. I think you hit on something that's important, is that you're not entitled to move forward by any means. However, I do believe that, like many things in Freemasonry, there is a reason that you have the progressive line. And I think that many of the lessons that are taught, especially if your lodge is intentional with the progressive line, it says, okay, junior deacon, these are your rules. Junior steward, these are your rules. You're not entitled to anything. You're not entitled to progress, and we don't know when you'll progress, because because ideally we don't
You still have a rough and rugged.
You still have a rough and rugged road. But if you're also practicing, hey, good officers that are willing to stay in their place for 2 or 3 years, if you're practicing that, there's no guarantee you're going to progress the next year anyway. But you set this criteria and you say, these are your expectations. You're not entitled to progress. If you fulfill these expectations, then there's a possibility that we may have this conversation about you moving forward in the future. But it should never be assumed. And the reason I say that is because I think some of the lessons that you learn as you're working, well, let's just say, like traditionally, like the deacons, not the deacons, the stewards, they're responsible for the kitchen, cleaning the lodge, the dining hall and all that, keeping it nice and orderly. And I've shared this story several times, but I remember at OLT.
Yes, you have.
I have. at OLT one year, it was 2 years ago. I was going through the lunch line, and I
It's a
look
good one.
up. I look up, and is at the time Grandmaster Brad Billings is standing back behind the. He's serving the beans or whatever it was. I think it was beans, but he's serving the food. Servant leadership is the highest form of leadership, in my opinion. And so, if you start learning this servant mentality early on, like you will with the steward's positions, and if you carry that along with everything else you learned as you go through the rest of the line, by the time you're actually ready to step into a senior officer leadership position, you're very familiar with how everything in the lodge should work. You have been through all the seats, so you can have the expectations of other people because you've been there and done it yourself, and you know how it should look, and you know where everything's at. And when you show up for lodge, getting ready for a meeting, and something's not taken care of, you having done it immediately recognize it, and you're able to uphold those expectations and those standards yourself. But like you said, it's not a given, and that's, I think it's so powerful. Like you say, nothing is 100% positive on this, right? Here's your office. This is your opportunity. It's an opportunity, right? It's not an entitlement. This is your opportunity to prove that you can fulfill these expectations. And if you can fulfill it and the opportunity arises, in the future, you may progress. And if you cannot fulfill that, we'll have several conversations. And when someone comes up that wants to go through the line, that is actually showing up and doing the expectations, they will take your place if you cannot do that.
Go ahead, Jason. Did you have something?
Oh, no, my basset hound started barking. So that's what I was
Oh, okay.
going for.
Anybody else got something before I say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that, Justin, to what you were saying, is that like I'm senior warden right now, and should tradition prevail, I'll be master next year of Sol Ross, right? And so what I plan to do is for all of my appointed officers, I want to write each of them a letter and just outline what their duties are going to be, of course, that are outlaid in our bylaws and our standing rules, that which we just passed standing rules, and also what I would hope to expect of them, and if they can live up to that. And I'm just going to ask them on their honor as men if they could sign that and say, yeah, I agree to that. I'll be able to uphold to that to the best of my abilities, and then give them a copy and keep a copy for myself. And I think that'll be a good thing. But I think when it comes to like expectations of like I will move up or I will not move up, or I'm in this position and I want to move to this one, I think if you have a progressive line and you're not absolutely clear about that, even if like someone is senior deacon or chaplain or whatever you have that normally goes to junior warden, if it's not explicitly clear that like, oh, well, I made it to like 8 out of the 12 stated meetings and I went to a couple of the other things, but I didn't support, the lodge for the most part. Or when we had all these other called meetings, I didn't really go to it, but it's expected that I'm going to be junior warden. So I expect that. I think you run into that problem and then someone else gets nominated for junior warden, and then there's a fair democratic election, and then that guy that was senior deacon loses, and then he gets, for lack of a better term, butthurt, and then he stops going to your lodge, or he just stops doing masonry altogether. And if there's anything I've learned from being a senior officer, having been junior warden and now I'm senior warden, is that it's an absolute privilege and an honor to serve the lodge, but like it's not something I'd want to do forever. And like I hate event planning, even though I love our lodge having events. I hate it. It's so stressful. There's so much about it I don't like, even though I love our lodge having a good time. So it's crazy to me that some guys would like want to quit the lodge or quit masonry over not being elected to a position. But I could see how it could be taken as an insult. But that's kind of a tirade. But I just wanted to mention that, because if you're not clear, if you have a progressive line that you're not entitled to this position, and even if you've done everything right, someone else could get nominated along with you and you could be not voted to it, I think that can lead to bad things or bad expectations. So that was my overall point. But yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to piggyback on that. I like both of y'all's points. I would like to add, though, you talk about servant leadership, and one of the things that I look at when I'm looking at people in the lodge, and I learned to do this back when I was a junior warden, or actually, I learned it when I was a senior deacon because I went to 101 and 201, excuse me, the same year. And then I went every year after that. I just loved officer leadership training. But one of the things that I realized was that as a junior warden, I should be surveying the lodge and looking at what people are doing within the lodge. And one of the things that I've really tuned in on over the years is looking to see all of our officers, no matter where it is, no matter what body it is, if they are able to do their job, if they're preparing for the job in the future, but if they're mentoring for the job they just left. So as they're going along in their job, they should be able to mentor to the person behind them. And then when you become master, then you're the mentor to the entire officer lineup because you've done all of those positions and you've established that mentorship line of succession. So let's say a backwards line of succession or would it be recession of mentorship, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about here. So you have your pushing forward with your ideas for the future, but at the same time, you're providing feedback for the past or for the future as well. I guess it's still succession because you're preparing for the future. You're preparing the next guy for his future. So leaders aren't just looking for their own forward, but they're looking for the forward of the guy behind him as well and trying to help that guy have a good forward as well. Mm-hmm. And a good past master is that way as well. We shouldn't just fade into the distance. And I don't visit with Goliad as much as I used to because I'm just traveling so much. But I'm always there if anybody needs me. If they call on me, I'm there. If they need me to serve on a committee, I'm there. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna do my masonry and enjoy it and support them the best that I can. If we're missing light bulbs, guess who's gonna make sure they're there? This guy. So, that's how I feel about being a past master. And the best thing that you can do for your legacy is to prepare them. That's the best thing you can do, and then be their biggest cheerleader. Yeah. So part of being that mentor is not, telling them all the things they do wrong or whatever. It's telling them what they can do above and beyond. Mm-hmm. Say, this is what the expectation is. But man, you've got. Sorry, you just don't have the touch.
I guess not. I was like, why does it not recognize me? Oh well.
This is the expectation because there's certain expectations when you're a man like me. And even technology recognizes that. But this is the expectation, but man, reach for the stars because I'm going to support you in anything that you want to do as long as it fits within our bylaws, rules, and regulations. As long as it fits within the culture of our lodge. Mm-hmm. If it's good for the lodge, do it. If it's not, don't. And that's what I'm going to tell anybody because that's what was told to me. And that was the most impactful thing that could have happened. But, there's all kinds of different factors we have to take into account when we're looking at our officer line and we've just scratched the head on that because, we also have to look at financial viability. I mean, is that master willing to step up when it really counts? Because not everything works out the way that you want it to. So at some point, you might be required to pitch in a little bit of change and make sure that vision that you had happens so that the lodge can see how great it can be, mm-hmm. so that they can experience it and then want to push harder next time to make it, right? Sometimes you just fall short and you have to be ready to give when nobody else can. And that's just part of being a leader.
Talking about being a leader and supporting one another, something that you often see with brothers as they're going through the line, like your wardens in particular, they have great ideas and they kind of keep it to themselves, right? They want their year to be successful. And in doing so, they're not really giving the master the support he deserves during his year. If I have an idea that might help fix things, if I have If I have something that would genuinely be beneficial for the lodge, you can't wait until your year, because these things take time to build. And what will happen is you'll wait till it's your year, and then you'll have all these great ideas and you'll get no support, and then you'll get frustrated. And then you'll also be frustrated because no one's showing up. Well, if you had started sharing ideas and supporting your worship master and letting his programs be successful, if they're legal and good and in line with Freemasonry, then you're building up the lodge. And by the time you have your year, you have a healthy lodge. And assuming you're still doing a good job, you will have a good year. And then when you are done and you're a past master, you should be supporting, like Dennis said, the worship master as well as the wardens, and encouraging them to share their ideas and support one another as well. You can't be an island in Freemasonry, and you can't be an island in your lodge. Everyone, I say everyone, but you have too many people that want to come through the lodge, come through the progressive line, and they want to be like the next Masonic Messiah. They think as soon as they're installed, they have all these great ideas, and everyone's just going to fall in love with it, and they'll be the ones that change everything, and they'll be the ones that get all the credit, and the lodge will, the lodge will build a statue in their honor, and they'll put paintings on the walls because you did such a great job for 1 year. You should be trying to build up the lodge, not your ego. You should be trying to create something that will last. You are planting trees that your children will take shade in, that you will never enjoy. That's the mentality you should be having. I am doing things not for me, but for my lodge, so that my children and my children's children, and hopefully several generations past, will have a fraternity, specifically a lodge in this community that they could be a part of. And they will benefit as much as I did. Actually, hopefully, they'll benefit even more than I did, because the seeds that I have planted have bore fruit at that point. And I think we can see that today, where we have these beautiful buildings that we inherited that unfortunately are falling apart, but we had brothers that planted seeds, right, that they might not have ever enjoyed. They put into the fraternity the funds and the support, that one day that those brothers were able to go and build a nice building for their lodge, right? We should always be trying to build up, not to tear down, and we should never be trying to leave things as they are. We should always be trying to improve.
Has anybody said anything in the chat? I mean, this is alive. Have you even been looking? That's what I thought. Here we are. Fearless leader, not looking.
Well, Brad pointed out that Zach Haston had a chart on Facebook on how quickly after a brother was raised that he was placed into an officer position. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet. I have been looking at it. He said that Brad Hoff.
Brad. Oh, okay. I don't see you here, Brad.
Yeah, he said it's just going to hang out and chat tonight.
Okay.
But yeah.
Maybe you can help field some questions.
Yeah, it's been quiet. I've been watching it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually working on a project for successful lodges and trying to determine what makes them successful. Mm-hmm. And it's not just a matter of making Masons. It's also a matter of retention and value. Several different factors. And I can't wait to finish it up. It's going to be a long project, but I'm going to visit a lot of lodges in doing so as well. And I plan on visiting the best in practice lodges and seeing, how that's going for them, and some of the invitation only lodges and all kinds of lodges actually.
Let me ask you a question, Dennis.
And all over the state as well.
If you had like a checklist, say it was like a buffet, right? And you had everything all the best practices for a system lodge, and like a lodge was a person, would it be like take a little bit of everything, or would it be you just need to load up and get everything? Like, as far as best practices go for a lodge, do you think there's like a dip your toe in the water approach, or do you think you need to hey, these are all the practices, you need to adopt all of them, or do you think it's situational?
I think it's situational. I think it's based on the lodge and their culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the what's good for one lodge isn't going to be good for another. Now, in that being said, there is an asterisk to that, and that is that you don't want to run your individuals out that don't fit into that mold, right? Because a lot of times, most of us, we like two or three things about our lodge. It's not just one thing that we go to lodge for. And so, you know, I like two or three things, though I can break down esoterics with people, unlike a lot of people. And so I'm a value to my lodge. But if my lodge doesn't value esoteric, it would suck if they tried to push me out or tried to exclude me from some of the other things because it wasn't part of their culture. So they need to hold on to me because there may be one of those brothers walk in the door. And if I'm not there, then they're going to lose that guy.
Mm-hmm.
That Mr. DeMason's not going to happen because he's going to walk in and he's going to see a fish fry instead of the esoterics that he was expecting, if that makes sense.
Well, I meant more like, say, and Brad has a question, but I meant more like, we've talked a lot about having like better investigation processes and like a waiting period for petitions and things like that. Things that to me seem like they'd be universally beneficial to most lodges. So
Right.
you're thinking that just depends on the lodge?
Well, no, that kind of thing is definitely important for all lodges because, and it doesn't matter what you practice in your lodge. The reason why is because you'll be able to determine if that person is a good fit with your lodge.
Mm-hmm.
And he may be a better fit with another lodge, and it may be better to pass him off onto another lodge and say, hey, man, why don't you go visit this lodge over here? I think you're really going to gel with these guys a lot better and enjoy your Masonic experience instead of saying, oh, I want that money, join this lodge, and then you can go visit that other, right? Yeah. Isn't that kind of crappy to do to somebody?
And most lodges don't charge high enough dues to even really want to worry about the money anyway.
Oh, tell me. But that's the reality is that there are a few basic fundamental things that we need to do, but there's a lot of subjective material that is covered in different lodges that we have to be flexible to because, you know, whatever creates value to the membership is what's going to create activity. You know, that's the bottom line, and that's going to be a successful lodge. You can have a lodge out in Goliad, Texas, 2,000 people in our town, 7,000 in the whole county. And we have an extremely active lodge. And you're lucky to go into our lodge and not see 20 to 30 people on a stated meeting.
That's good. It's good.
A town of 2,000 people. So, you know, it's all what brings value to the lodge, and that's what we have to determine. But I'm trying to do this project to see all the different key factors that the most successful lodge are going to hold. If they are going to have that broad, you know, well-rounded appeal like we've talked about in the past, or if they're going to have more of a niche thing and they only bring in members that are going to appreciate that. So I'm interested to see how this all plays out.
Yep.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Dennis, this is in tune with what you're saying. I'm not sure if you've reached out to him or not, but Brother Zachary Haston, I think he's the one that posts.
Yes, he's gonna.
He's the one that. He's the one. Yeah, he's the one that posts all the graphs and stuff on the Facebook page. I've asked him this before. Maybe I wanted to ask him this before. Of just like, you know, the top 10 lodges in the state of Texas that are doing like unreasonably phenomenal, like for you know, membership and retention and stuff like that, or the amount of people initiated, or the amount of Master Masons retained, or stuff like that. That would be really interesting data to see. And I know that
that's
like
part of this project. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I know like he doesn't want to badmouth lodges that are like doing really bad, but it would be really interesting to know about lodges that are doing phenomenal, you know, and just like be able to model model or at least observe what they're doing that's working.
Right.
Just wanted to mention that because you had said that.
Yeah, and in fact, it was when y'all mentioned Zach that I thought about it, and I wanted to bring that up. It's
That's an interesting.
That's
That's an interesting
exactly
graph.
that's a
I got it pulled up now.
that's
Some interesting data. Sorry.
oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm working towards is the success, not the failures, the successes. Because why do we need to focus on failures? We already know if our lodge is successful or not if we compare them to lodges that are really successful. So let's focus on the positive and push towards the positive instead of focusing on the negative.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's a great way to look at it. Thanks, Adam.
Brad asked in the chat. This is talking about what I was talking about, supporting the worship master and everything. He says, along with what Justin said, does the senior and junior wardens keep their ideas to themselves to not step on the current worship master's toes?
I think that they should talk to the worshipful master, not talk to everybody else. When you have members that are talking to everybody but the person that it's going to affect, you got a problem.
I agree.
That's the difference.
Yeah, it's not like you stand up in a lodge and say, "Hey, I got this great idea," and you're just springing it on the worshipful master. Maybe after you've talked to him, but it should not be the first time he's heard about it.
Well, it should be on the agenda if that's the case.
Yeah, I agree. I agree about that too. Yeah, so if it's on the agenda and everyone's doing their due diligence, if nothing else, the worshipful master is to say, "What is this thing on the agenda? What are you going to talk about?"
Worshipful master makes the agenda. What are you talking about?
But it should be
talked
about. I
don't know what lodge you're from.
Okay,
you're not from my lodge.
But it should be talked about well ahead of before the meeting.
Maybe that's why Goliad's successful.
And then Daniel Dutton says, Brad, that is where a mission statement gets consensus, and building buy-in is essential. You should be able to share an idea of how to build the lodge better without stepping on toes. Yeah, I agree.
Yes, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I mean, I know of a lodge. It's just elections are coming up, so it's just a lot of this stuff's coming up to my attention. But if tradition prevails, there's a senior warden talking about all these great ideas he's going to implement when he goes into the East. It's like, well, if you had all these great ideas, why are you waiting till now? Why don't you support your current worshipful master? And if nothing else, just get the permission to run with it, right? But you cannot jump into the East with all these great ideas, like the Wild West, expecting everything just to align. Do not. Too many people think that they are so unique in that when they go into the East, their ideas have never been tried anywhere else. And it's going to totally, I know, right, Jason? But it's going to totally revolutionize everything. Like, they have the fix. They've had the cure all along, and they've kept it to themselves until they can get the recognition.
It's snake oil, I tell you.
It's snake oil. Yeah,
it works.
Exactly.
It works.
If you've had, and really you're cheating your lodge. Like, if you really believe you have something that's that magnificent, it's going to totally fix everything, and you wait until you get the opportunity for the limelight to share it, you're not doing it for the right reason. And if you really think, and maybe it is that great, but if you really wait until you're in the East, when it could have benefited your lodge years ahead of time, you just did a disservice to the fraternity.
There is nothing that pisses me off more than a brother that is willing to let somebody fail so that it makes himself look better.
Exactly.
And if you're letting your lodge fail, you're letting 80 brothers fail. Not just one, not just that master. You're letting 80 brothers fail. And you should just walk out of your lodge because you're worthless to your lodge. Excuse me. I think that's BS.
Yeah.
And I'm just not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you exactly how it is. That's just the worst thing. If I ever hear of that, if any brother comes to me and tells me, man, we're behind on the 8-ball, this just sprung up on us, we didn't realize this was going on, and it was just brought to our attention by brother secretary or brother treasurer or whatever, and we don't know what to do, guess who's the first one to offer my service? I will do everything possible to help them succeed when somebody else wanted them to fail, because that's just crap, in my opinion. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a certain level of arrogance to believe that um, when that whatever big I, now, I will say, to be fair, I don't believe that there a vast majority of junior and senior wardens are withholding these great ideas. They may have some ideas, and then, depending on the culture of the lodge, maybe they don't feel like maybe they do feel like, if I bring this forward, it's going to be look like that, well, I'm going to do it better, or whatever. So there might be some of that. But it would be pretty arrogant to believe that you could come in for 1 year and completely change the course of the lodge and say, well, now we're going to do this, and believe, because the one thing that I point to is, I mean, some of you may have seen the post earlier, probably about a few weeks ago, that I posted of the list of speakers that I have for next year. For all months, I've got a lineup. That didn't just happen. That is not going to happen just because I'm coming into the East. That is something that started 2 years ago, specifically with, yeah, there were some of us that were pushing Masonic education and that we should, but ultimately it was Alan Gatlin from the Scottish Rite, and he came in and he was willing to take on that role and really make sure if we didn't have a guest speaker, then he was going to do it. And so for the last couple of years, this whole education has been building up, and ultimately, yeah, while I'm proud of what so far, that, obviously it hasn't come to fruition yet, but I'm proud of what I have projected for this year. But that was not just because I'm coming in next month. That foundation had been laid 2 years ago, and so it would, there was no way that I would be able to get all of this set up for this year had it not started, a couple of years ago. So if you've got these big ideas, then yeah, don't be so arrogant to think that you're going to be able to come in and then completely take the lodge in a new direction, and now we're going to go and do this. And it's not, in my opinion, it's, unless you've got like this magnetic personality that just can, get people to follow you no matter what, and you're gonna, yeah, like nobody's like Dennis. I mean, anyway.
Those are my suspenders.
Hey, madness can be very repelling.
At any rate, like I said, it's the one thing that I've kind of looked towards, that I'm really kind of proud of, and it is something new. There are some new things we're going to do with that, but it's new things we're going to do with that program, not bring in a completely new program.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really just building on what we had started a couple years ago.
It's wise.
Go ahead, Adam.
Jason, I totally agree with you, because I can think back in 2020 when there were members of our lodge that wanted to do an annual festa board. We wanted to have an annual past masters dinner just to honor the past masters. We wanted to have monthly socials for the members, and if there was a guy interested in becoming a Mason, he could come to our socials and just, in a relaxed environment, hang out with everyone. We wanted to do those three things as well as some other things. And we've been talking about it, and it was like, let's just start doing it. Even if it's not the best, even if we have to work out some kinks, we're just going to start doing it and we'll work it out. And so we started doing it in 2020. And then we improved in 2021, then 22, 23, and here we are in 24. And we're going to have I guess this year is our third annual Festa board. We had one in like the 80s that Pete Norman would definitely mention. But with this is our third annual for Saul Ross.
Nice.
And had we not started that when I was senior deacon, like the worshipful master then and the other wardens and the guys that wanted to start those things, I mean, if it was just me this year and I wanted to be like, oh, let's do all these things, it would be way too much of a radical shift and having to figure everything out. And then the guy after me might be like, that was way too much work. We're not going to do all that. We might just do one of those things. So it's
That's
definitely
a valid
not.
point.
Yeah, it's definitely not about the individual man that is the worshipful master that 1 or 2 or 3 years, right? It's about building up your lodge and helping to, make it more worthwhile for the members and stuff like y'all were talking about before. That's really what matters. If anyone goes into their year saying this is going to be my year and we're going to do things right, then, I'm sure that's the same guy that come May or June, he's like, oh my God, the next worshipful master is going to mess up everything during his year that I did during my year, and he's going to become an angry old past master. That's not what you want.
Or he won't support the incoming worshipful master at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Try to be the worshipful master when COVID hit. Now that was a tough one. I mean that was my year. Was the year that COVID hit, and when they were wanting to shut down lodges, we kind of cheated a little bit because our county never did do the mandatory shutdowns and stuff like that, because we only had like 6 people ever get sick in Goliad, and so
that's like half the population.
I know, right? But we were all hanging out up at lodge. But what we did is, we weren't allowed by, the Grandmaster at the time to convene, and so we resurfaced the floor. We fixed all the plaster in the building, painted. I mean, we did all kinds of stuff. It was a very successful year, but I couldn't have planned for that. Mm-hmm. I just had to improvise, and sometimes you have to do that as well.
That's leadership.
And so it's just, we can plan as much as we want to, but it's a lot easier if you just stick to what the lodge culture already is, and then introduce maybe a couple of little things, mm-hmm. or make a shift in how you do something, like y'all were talking about, like Jason was talking about. We're introducing the speakers this year as well. We're working towards becoming a Vanguard Lodge, and we're going to do a graded degree as well as the speakers every month this year at Goliad as well. And everything else before that's just about going to be it that puts us to Vanguard, because we've been doing all these extra things building up to this point. Like Adam was saying, we've been doing this over time, and we're finally, and that's succession planning. We've been working on it together, trying to get there. And when we do have the pitfalls, the brothers get together and make sure that that it isn't a pitfall. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of it. With our lodge, we've been very successful in creating a fellowship to where even the people that get along the worst still get along, right? Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the lodge, they can get together and get things done. So nothing is too difficult for Goliad Lodge. And I just wish that people could get a taste for that in their own lodges, because what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do, Jason? You're killing me. I wish people could get a taste of that, because it is kind of special, and I'm pretty proud of it. And I think that if people could just get a taste of that in their own lodge, then they would realize how good it can be.
Absolutely. People don't know what they're missing until they see it. They don't know what they don't know.
Well, that's why I travel, and that's why we tell everybody to travel.
Yep.
Because you're not going to get that kind of information if you sit around in your own lodge and do nothing. What you got, Jason?
Okay, speaking along that, I do have to share this. So, Victor and I went to his first master's degree after being raised, and we went to Braham Lodge in Lavernia. So who's anybody been to Braham Lodge?
Dennis, no, but I know which masters you're talking about, because I was going to go to that, but I couldn't. I ended up having something else I had to do.
All right. So first off, in Brayhand Lodge, they one past master years and years ago apparently went in on his own and painted all of these murals all along the wall, and it's all the EA carpet, Fellowcraft carpet, Master Mason carpet, all the symbolism, all that stuff, right? All right, which is cool in and of itself. But if have anybody heard the full or the extended Master Mason's lecture
Yes,
done by Ron Haven?
many times.
Not done,
by
not done by a
Ron Haven.
specific person, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I have not heard it before. And if you have not, and first off, if you know anything about Ron Havens, you know he does everything by memory. Whether it's a funeral service, whether it is the charge, even if it's stuff you can read, he does not. He does the full Master Mason's walking lecture, and he walked around the lodge room pointing out all of the elements from the master's carpet and stuff like that. And it was great to see that with Victor being his first Master Mason's degree that he had been able to go to. And I point this out because you said, try and travel to other lodges and see other things and stuff like that. Um, Ron Haven is getting up in years, and I would put out to anybody, if you have the opportunity and you know that Ron Haven is going to be going and doing a Master Mason's lecture, that you need to try and go because it is different. He will never, first off, it takes forever because he will not rush. He does not care how long it takes. He is going to do it with meaning, and he's going to do it. And yeah, it is a full, and apparently the story I heard, a couple of guys were talking afterwards, he's been threatened a couple times with Masonic charges for doing that in the past. Somebody being just a stickler. Well, you can't do this or that. He does not care. And it really was. It was meaningful, and it was a lot of stuff I had read in the monitor because a lot of it's in the monitor. But to hear it, as he's explaining it and pointing out the emblems that are up on the murals and stuff like that, it is worthwhile to go and see. And he's getting up in years, so you take that what you will from that.
Absolutely. That's part of the value of traveling and seeing other things done differently.
Yep.
Well, let's
Yep.
let's start wrapping this up. Any in the inner circle have any thoughts or anything they want to share? Adam, we mentioned your festive board. Do you want to plug it?
Yeah.
Plug it, man.
Our festive board for Sol Ross Lodge will be June 29th, which is the last Saturday in June. You can go to our Facebook page, Sol Ross Lodge, number 1300. You'll be able to find tickets there. You can message me on Facebook or text me, and I can send you a link to purchase the ticket. Tickets are $60. Our speaker will be Worshipful Brother Kyle Walkwitz, a past master of Hillcrest Lodge. It is going to be a fantastic time. I'll be here in College Station, Texas. And if you don't mind, I wanted to plug one other thing.
No way.
It's kind of a small thing, but on May 28th, I'm going to be at Montgomery Lodge. I think Montgomery 25 is what it is. That's near Lake Conroe, near Conroe. And I'm going to give a presentation there on the real Knights Templar, their rise and the fall of the Knights Templar.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
It's not, 100% total research I did myself. It's mostly a book report, but I think it's pretty interesting. Brother Chance Crane asked me to go there and do it for them. I think in part so they could get their Vanguard Award, but they're doing a called meeting for it, so I think it'll be interesting.
You need to bring that to my York route one day.
I would love to. I would love to do that for a York Rite. No York Rite chapter or council or commander has asked me, but I would love to do that. I'm in the York Rite, so if y'all figure out a date, let me know. That isn't on Saul Ross Lodge's meeting night, and I'll be happy to do it.
Okay, yeah, I'll get with you on that. I will say, I guess I came to your. I guess it was your first festive board, your first annual one, because I came with Robert Marshall. I didn't come
Yes,
with
that
him,
was
but
our
I came
first
to
one.
hear him, and that was enjoyable. And if that was your first one, I mean, it was really well done. So I can only imagine this year is going to be even better. So I'd encourage anybody to think
Robert
about
Marshall
it.
was our first year, and then we had Jim Rumsey our second year. He was fantastic.
Who was
Because Jim
this?
can speak about anything, he did fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year is going to be Kyle Walkwith. So, I mean, we've had 3 great years of speakers.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Awesome. Anyone else have anything? If not, I'll just say, as always, thank you guys for taking time out of your Sunday evenings to come on here. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat and everybody who's watching. Masonic Improvement exists for you. This is why we do it. And so definitely appreciate your support. Appreciate everything. It always blows me away to see how much this has grown, and it's because of viewers like you. So thank you so much for everything y'all do. If you are watching this, if you're not a member of the Inner Circle, check out the link below. For as little as $1.99 a month, you could support the channel. Granted, we don't get anywhere near $1.99, but you can support the channel. It all goes towards, well, first of all, it puts you in the Inner Circle. It gives you access to ad-free content, in-person events, things like that. But it also helps us to keep improving what we have here. So definitely appreciate that. I guess that's all I got. What do you got, Dennis?
Well, speaking of Kyle Walkwith, Justin and I have put together some videos, our top 3 in 3. So we have been doing this now for 3 years as of April 23rd. We've been together for 3 years now.
He's big on anniversaries.
And so I just happened to look. I was thinking the other day. But anyways, so we did a top 3 for 3, and Kyle Walkwith is our number 3. He's our third runner-up, and then number 2 is our 2 Kabbalah episodes together. You'll want to watch them separate because it's a long haul.
Yes.
But they're definitely worth it. And our number 1 of all time since we've been together is our interview with Brother Robert Park. And I think you're gonna love that interview. If you want to know who he is, you will know. And he's not just all talk. He's not about that intellectual masturbation. He's the real deal. So you said spoiler. So go ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. There's one more thing I wanted to mention. Brother Aiden Mattis, who is from Pennsylvania, he's a YouTuber actually, but he's also a professional historian.
Mm-hmm.
He published a video on YouTube that I think was about an hour and a half long, and it was titled something like, do Freemasons worship Satan or something like that, but it's because it's YouTube and you're trying to get with the algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
But he talked about basically the foundation of like early Masonic history to now. And he addressed like a few Masonic conspiracies and whatnot and why they're not true. It was a very good video. But if you guys ever wanted to interview him in the future, I think he would be a great person to talk to. I wanted to mention that to both of you, just because he was cool.
I watched that episode after you shared it, and it really is. It's great. It is good. I don't know how historically accurate it is. I'm not a historian, but it aligns with everything I've always heard. So it was very enjoyable.
Well, send the link. Send the link to Pete. Then you'll know.
He'll tell you.
Then you'll right away.
Real quick, while we got kind of a Charles Dearduff. Last week when he was on here, he was the one that said that he was about to have his fellowcraft degree, and we asked him to let us know what he thought, and he said it was amazing. He was glad to be a part of it. He's really enjoyed it. That's my favorite degree, so I'm glad you enjoyed it too. And congratulations.
I don't think we even need a master's degree, because that one, if you really understand it, it takes you there.
Mhm.
So I'll just leave it there, not take that too much further in this live. So I can finish my end of the night speech, right?
Yeah, please do.
Oh.
Please.
Please do. Yes. Okay. So, anyways, first of all, we've got that 3 in all times, and that should be hitting this week, right?
Mhm.
Isn't that hitting this week? Yeah. And I think you'll really enjoy that. Like I said, and really, if you want to get to know Kyle or Park before you go to the festive board, then this is an excellent interview to understand Kyle as well, because he's a sharp individual and deserves all the attention that he gets for his understanding in marketing and research and so forth. So he's a very sharp man. Also, it was a great time at Masonic, and I say that because I didn't go to a lot of events last year. I probably would have been pulled behind a truck if I had, but so we started going to these events this year, and I got to tell you, man, the brotherly love and affection in these events this year, and it's all indicative of our Grandmaster, Most Worshipful Tommy Chapman, and he's doing such a great job, and everybody has rallied in support of what's happening this year. It's been such an inspiration seeing how, even though it was bumpy, and our democracy prevailed, and it did exactly how it's supposed to do, and we were able to make the decisions that we wanted to for our grand jurisdiction, and now it's playing out beautiful.
Yep.
The peace and harmony is just unlike I've seen in a long time, and it's just really a pleasure to see that all these brothers that we were bickering with each other before, we're all able to get together and fellowship and enjoy each other's company and hug each other and hug their wives and all that kind of good stuff. And so I just wanted to say, if you hadn't gone to any of the events this year, you need to go to the events this year. It's really worth your time and effort, and if it's a family type event, take your family. Mm-hmm. There were so many wives and children there. There was a little one of those caboose things, one of those little trains that was getting pulled behind a lawnmower, those barrel trains. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. They had one of those for the kids, a bounce house. Hot dogs for the kids, and we had barbecue. It was really a nice event, and it was some really, really good fellowship. And I was a little bit overdressed, but that's how I roll. But we all felt, comfortable together in our own skin, right? And that's what it's all about. Masonry is about mixing it up and seeing what comes out after. So I just wanted to throw that out there. What do I have? Actually, I don't have anything local. I think the next. Oh, we have the reunion, the Scottish Rite reunion, June 15th, I believe, isn't it, Jason? June 15th is our reunion date. It was cut down to one day simply because our air conditioner was robbed of all the copper. And when you're talking about an air conditioner for a building as large as our temple, our cathedral, it's not so quick. You can't find an air conditioner company to just come in and fix something like that.
Yeah.
That's not a repair type situation. That's a complete gut overhaul kind of thing, and that's a big undertaking for a building like that.
That sucks, man.
But so we've got our union happening the 15th. On the 29th, we'll have our capping ceremony and our centennial celebration along the same day with Sol Ross. So if you're over in East Texas, you might as well just stop at College Station, enjoy yourself. If you're over in the western side, then you come on over to the Scottish Rite and enjoy yourself. And you're going to have fun at either event. We've got Arturo de Hoyos, who's coming in to be the keynote speaker for the event. We're having steaks and all the fixings for dinner, and you'll get to see the capping ceremony. If you're not a Scottish Rite Mason, if you're just a Master Mason, you can come in and see our capping ceremony. This is an event that's open to Master Masons and their wives and family. You just have to buy the tickets for the dinner. And 10 a.m., June 29th, the Chosen. What is that? The Chosen One becomes the Master. Is that what you said?
Are you like Ron Burgundy? You just read whatever's in front of you without.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, as a matter of fact, and I will be there because it's going to be a day in San Antonio. We're going to start off in Victory Lodge and then head over to the Scottish Rite afterwards. And I'm still going to do it after a long haul going to New Mexico, speaking at Masonicon. It's going to be a stretch, but I'll make just for you.
So you're
but
speaking
we also
there?
Got that going on.
You're speaking at the Masonicon?
Yes, Park and I are both going out there to speak at the New Mexico Masonicon.
Awesome.
That's going to be a great time. Illustrious, well, is it it's illustrious Grand Commander James D. Cole with the Southern Jurisdiction Scottish Rite will also be speaking there as well. So it's going to be a pretty good event. I can't wait. I always enjoy going over to New Mexico. I do it several times a year to visit with the brothers over there, and it's always a good time. But that's a lot of what's going on in our neighborhood. So remember, installations are coming up. Support your lodges.
Yep.
Visit those brothers. Visit those installations. Listen to what they're telling them to do. Listen to what their charges are to those individuals, especially the master. The master needs to understand what his job is. And the lodge needs to understand what his job is. And it's not just to hold him accountable. It's for them to understand they need to support him. And support those goals. Support the lodge. That's what you're doing. You're not just supporting the master. You're supporting the lodge. So do it for your lodge. Do it for your master. Do it for the peace and harmony within your lodge. That being said, September 14th, we do have our event that's going to happen in North Texas. We got so many things coming up.
So many activities. Yeah.
We've got a full line of speakers. Justin. So we've got Cody Stewart, and then Justin, and then David Rogers. Oh, and Brad Hoff is going to be with Cody and Justin on doing some of the floor work and understanding of the items in the lodge, the regalia and stuff. And then David Rogers is going to talk on the spirit and like meditation, preparing the internal for the external. And then I'll come in and talk about, I can't even remember anymore. And then Park will close it up. I remember we were talking about what we were going to talk about, and it was going to be Park doing one and myself doing the other. And then I realized, well, since he's made himself available for Grand Junior Warden, he might not want to do this talk. I'll do that one so that everybody can hate me, and then they'll love him on his talk. So,
Nice.
So anyways, no, it's going to be a good time. And I think it's going to, in the idea is, the title of it is Esoterics, the internal and the external. Because they're two together. So, I didn't do it in slow motion this time. Come on.
I dropped that flyer in the chat.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Thank you.
You did what?
So Trenton, he made another flyer for the event.
Oh, cool.
So yes, that's happening as well. We really do have a lot going on in Texas, and there's at least 10 events in between all that that's going on as well. So go to your Grandview, check out the calendar. Excuse me, check out the calendar, and make sure you're showing up to support your Grand Lodge, supporting your brothers in your lodges, your district, supporting your Scottish Rite, your York Rite, your shrine. If you're a member, then you need to be a member. Don't just be a dues card holder. Take it from me. I'm the dues card holder. Just kidding. So, brothers, otherwise, thank you for joining us. We love you. Keep it between the points. Yes.